Hey, what's up, everybody? Just wanted to share with you guys a couple Atlas trees that I've been playing around with this league. Nothing here is super new, but I think that these two Keystones are still being missed by a lot of people, and I just want to call attention to them. They are so strong that I think they're basically mandatory to play around right now. Whether you are hunting for challenges and trying to get through a lot of map tiers, or you're just trying to recreate some of that old feeling of juiced map, delirium, beyond, whatever, and just trying to get as much profit out of regular mapping as possible, I think choosing and building around one of these Keystones is basically best in slot right now for playing the game. And those two Keystones are Wandering Path and Grand Design. So what they do is dramatically alter the way that the other nodes on your Atlas passive tree work. Grand Design is my personal favorite because it allows me to still target challenges and do additional content a lot easier. However, if I were just going for profit and trying to make as much currency as possible and trying to recreate that old feeling of juiced maps, I would probably be using Wandering Path. We're going to start off with Grand Design here, though, because this is what I've been playing around with the most this league. What it says is that small Atlas passives grant nothing. Small Atlas passives are all the small nodes. You can see here with Grand Design allocated, they will do nothing. But if I unspec it, you'll see I will still get the value here. What Grand Design says is you get 1% increased pack size per allocated notable. Notables are the medium-sized nodes on the tree, and then Keystones are the big ones. So the value of Grand Design here, you can see that I have 41 notables. Even if I ran a scoured map, it would still have plus 41% pack size. That just means 41% increased monsters on your map, 41% increased loot. To me, the big value here is that we still get to take advantage of the large notables, such as building around altars and progressing your pinnacle boss progress. Currently, Searing Exarch invitations are selling for up to 130 chaos, so being able to push that progress a little bit quicker is really, really nice. And with an Elk and Go strategy, taking as many altars as possible and just getting that base 1 to 2% like currency map drops from the altar monsters will go a really long way to still extracting a lot of value out of each map that you run. So because of all these reasons, if you're doing like a casual Elk and Go strategy and you're looking to progress some like side content, especially if you're trying to do challenges, that's why I'm using Grand Design the most right now, and you still want to do that additional content that will allow you to do challenges, but still be able to just like Elk and Go, get that plus 40% pack size on all the monsters and get a lot more value, especially from the altar monsters that, since they have a base drop percentage, being able to push that pack size as high as possible. I've hit up to 90% pack size on a single map. I'm getting really, really good drop, especially with bubblegum currency, just by running this strategy. Now, while Grand Design is really, really fun, especially if you're doing an explodey build and you want that gigantic pack size, I do think if you are trying to optimize your strategy, that Wandering Path, unfortunately, is just a little bit too strong in comparison. So Wandering Path does literally the opposite of what Grand Design does. So instead of the small nodes doing nothing and the big nodes still retaining their value, Wandering Path actually disables the big nodes, the notables, and doubles the value that you get out of all the small nodes. So if you look at this tree, it might look really, really weird to you. The key here is that we can take as many Keystones as we want still, and I'm using Wrath of the Cosmos here as just an example, but we actually want to ignore all of the large notables here and try to get as much value as possible out of the small nodes. If you remember from my previous Atlas videos, you know that we call up here the hat, and what these nodes do is you get 2% by default increased effect of modifiers on your non-unique maps. That gets doubled to 4%. And since there are 15 of these nodes, that is a 60% increased effect of modifiers on your non-unique maps. Those modifiers, you know, rolling beyond, increased number of magic monsters, reflect, cannot regen, stuff like that. What those do inherently on your map is increase the quantity and rarity on your map. For example, if you had 100% quant on your map based on those modifiers, if they're 60% stronger and and there's a linear scaling there, you will have 160% quant on your map instead of 100%. Not to mention also increased rarity, which has increased value this patch because rarity now affects things like currency and other drops like that, you know, particularly on those arch nemesis monsters. The other big key here is we want to take this circle here in the middle and this circle here in the middle as well. Each one of these nodes by default is 1% quant, and each one of these is 1% quant and 5% rarity. So if we scroll down here on the misc section, you see we have 30% quant and 30% rarity. I also took these nodes here, which gives me 150% increased rarity from items dropped by the map boss, which is really nice. I very specifically stopped at 100% chance because there's no reason to go higher than that. Of the nodes here that give me 4% chance for one monster to drop an additional connected map. So I want to take exactly 25 of those nodes. And then I took every single map drop be duplicated node, which is 37% chance here. With all of these powers combined, we have so much value. You're going to get more map drops than you can imagine. I actually think something along these lines is basically best in slot for getting your Atlas unlocked at the beginning. You pretty much just want to rush as many small notables as possible going into Wandering Path, and then you will have so many map drops, you can progress your Atlas really, really, really quickly. On top of that, we have 40% pack size from taking these nodes here. While I was showing in Grand Design, we get 40% pack size on all the monsters, which is nice for the Searing Exarch mobs. We get 40% pack size from just these 4 nodes alone. Not to mention that the other pack size that we get on top of that. In addition to that, what I'm doing here is I'm just taking all of the Harvest Life Force and Increased Chance for Harvest nodes. So you can see that we have 42% increased life force and plus 12% chance to get Sacred Grove. So you're going to get a Sacred Grove on a very large number of your maps. And when you do see the Sacred Grove, you're going to get a ton of life force. On top of that, if you really want to, you can go into Beyond. I took a couple Delirium nodes here. This is really up to your own personal preference. The key here is you want to get the hat and then the Quant nodes right here. Other than that, you just take whatever small nodes really like min-max for the style of play that you want to go. Now, the big downside here is we don't get to take advantage of any of the large nodes. All of these will do absolutely nothing. So things like blocking content that you don't want to see, you're not going to be able to do that. This is the big reason why I say this is like a really early game strategy, because you can unlock your Atlas early. And then it's also really good for an end game strategy, since you're going to be forcing the content through scarabs and map device crafts. So if you're just doing like casual elk and go, I don't think that this is quite as good, because you're not be able to force the exact quantity that you're going to do. And specifically, if you're going to be doing challenges, I really think Grand Design is better, since you can force that, like, I need to do Essences, I need to do Expedition, I need to do Abyss, something like that. Especially if you're building into Expedition, pack size is really, really good for that. Grand Design is great for that, but I do think that Wandering Path is probably just better on average, as long as there's no big necessary nodes that you're trying to build around. I just wanted to show you guys a really quick example of what this looks like. So as you can see here, I just have this tier 1 strand. You can see it has 43% pack size, and this is my Grand Design tree. So you can see 43% pack size. If we go inside the map, you can see it goes up to 85% pack size, because I have 42 notables on the tree that I have here. And you can see the size of these packs are like pretty gigantic. And it's really nice if you have an explodey build like I have right here. There are so many monsters on the map that you're just going to inherently just get a ton of drops. And it's really satisfying to run through these Grand Design maps that have tons and tons of monsters. And this here is my Wandering Path tree that I have in standard right now, just to show as an example. So you can see I put in a 113 quant, 54 rarity, 35 pack size map, and that will get juiced by having the hat up here, giving 60% increase effect of those modifiers. Not to mention that the pack size of the monsters here will go up by 40%. So if you look at the map here, you can see we have 206% quant, 116% rarity, and 56% pack size. So we don't get quite as many monsters going to like the 80, 90, 100 pack size that we can get from Grand Design, but with that much quant, being able to push like some really, really juicy maps, especially if you're doing additional content with scarabs or map crafts, you can be very, very profitable. Now, the thing to look out for is 60% increased effect of those modifiers. Look at this, 576% crit chance, 70 crit multi, 176% fizzes fire, etc., 96% less recovery rate. These maps do become extra, extra scary. And if you're trying to level up, save your XP, or you're in hardcore, I probably wouldn't build around Wandering Path. But with 200% quant and still really, really big pack size, it can be incredibly satisfying to still run through a map and blow stuff up and get like really, really good drops. It's pretty wild having that much quant, and it feels pretty incredible to basically feel like you're running MF all the time in every map that you're running. So as long as you don't mind dying, I do strongly recommend trying to build around Wandering Path. And then as we saw, 37% of all maps that drop will be duplicated. So you will have so many maps that you don't know what to do with them. You could even sell them in bulk for some additional profit right there. So anyway, just a quick little video on Wandering Path and Grand Design. A lot has been said about them for the past 6 months, but I still want to re-emphasize, especially for people that haven't tried them yet. If you are missing drops, if you want to have juicier maps, and you really want to extract as much value as possible, especially with all of the changes to how loot has dropped in the game, I think building around one of those 2 keystones is basically mandatory for being as profitable as possible. So anyway, that's it from me today. Thank you again to all the subs and all of the patrons and all of you for watching. Really appreciate that. Yeah, I'm gonna go get ready for the stream, and I'll see y'all tomorrow. Bye.
You know I do. You know I want to suckle on that XP all freaking day, man. Oh, experience points. Oh, I love experience points.